Hey, this is Bruce Naylor, and welcome to my first class. This is part one on the introduction to starting a business, and I'm glad you're joining me, and I hope that you find this course to be interesting and profitable. I think it's a good term to use. This is a multi-part course, and I'll be working as diligently as possible to getting new installments of this out. Some of this may be quite familiar to you. Others, you may hear terms that you're not used to, and I'll do my best to explain them to you. Now, on the board I have written that business equals money. And it's not uncommon for people to assume the main reason you start a business is to make money. And with the way people classically think about it, they would be correct. However, that is not the truth. In fact, this is wrong. In fact, it's dead wrong. So, by the way, I like to use a good old-fashioned whiteboard when I teach. And what business really equals is making people happy. That is what business is all about. You see, when you create a product or a service that makes people's lives better, it makes them more productive, it makes them happy, that will in turn make the money follow. So providing a product or service that improves other people's lives, that should be the goal of your business. That's what business is all about. The money will follow. And that's the point that I want to get across very, very quickly. Here's what this class is not. I'm not here to teach you exactly what products you should sell. I'm not here to teach you what services you should offer. I'm already going to assume that you have an idea of what that is truly all about. What this class is about is to teach you some of the fundamental things you really need to know. A little bit of background about me. I've been an entrepreneur since 1989. I've operated several very successful companies and one not so successful. So I've been on both sides of the tracks. Look, there's lots of business advice out there. There's gurus. There's people with websites. They're trying to sell you books. They're trying to sell you training. They're whatever. This is a no bullshit course. And I don't sugarcoat things. I'm going to tell you the way it is. Hope you appreciate that. I'm going to share with you some things that I've learned not to do through the School of Hard Knocks. And I'm going to share with you some things I did right. But I'm going to assume that you're thinking about starting a business and you just want some truth. Stephen Colbert uses the term truthiness. And this course is going to have a whole lot of truthiness to it. How's that? So, here's what we don't want to see happen. We don't want to see you end up as a statistic. Now, depending on who you ask, 80% of all businesses fail in the first 18 months. That is the worst case scenario that I've seen. Is it true? No, I don't think so. I think a more likely statistic is going to be around 50% will fail in the first 5 years. And let me tell you, failure is not fun. This is something that you won't really see talked about on shows like Shark Tank or listening to Donald Trump or any other business guru. They never really talk about life after failure, and it's damn hard. It's damn hard. People don't really get they don't get what it's like to fail in the business and even possibly have to go through a bankruptcy because you failed. And this is what I want to get out of the way in the very beginning. If we can identify the most common forms of failure of a business right in the beginning and make sure that we design and structure our business from day one to eliminate as many of these problems or minimize them as much as possible, then I think we're really ahead of the game. So what are the most common reasons that businesses fail. I have some notes here. I'm going to share them with you today. The first reason that businesses fail is because they don't understand their customer. They've never taken the time to seriously analyze the buying habits, the trends their customers follow, who they are, and what they really want. They base their marketing, product selection, services on things that the entrepreneur, the business owner thinks they want, but they've never really walked in that customer's shoes. This causes a big problem. You can't do that. You have to spend time deeply, truly learning the potential customers that you'll be working with on a regular basis. That's number one. Number two, you did not show your customer that that's me and that's my competitor. You never demonstrated the reason that you should choose my business over my competition. You never did that. And therefore, as a future customer, you've not given me a good reason to make that change. You've not shown me that I'm any different than the competition. You're in a town with 5 hamburger stands, you want to open up a new hamburger stand, you better show me why I should choose you over the other 4 or 5 of them. So that's another reason a business can fail. How about this? The ability, and this is supposed to be a megaphone. You have failed to communicate to me, your customer, what my value proposition is, what your value proposition is. Not only why should you choose me over a competitor, but what specifically do I gain as your customer from doing business with you that I wouldn't get from a competitor? You failed to properly communicate that with me. So that is another reason businesses fail. Next, here we are again, and this is a dunce hat. You are a poor leader. You have poor leadership skills. This brings down a lot of businesses. Someone who is indecisive, somebody who makes bad decisions without doing their homework. A multitude of things can happen from poor leadership. You want to be a great leader from day one. And being a leader means you're out there with your folks. You're making things happen. You're making sure that the trains run on time. You're showing people how to do it rather than telling them how to do it. There's a lot of things that go into a great leader, but if you're stupid about it, your business will be a statistic. Next, execution. You have failed. I shouldn't say you, but a company will fail to execute on creating a profitable business with reliable revenue. Try as they might, you just can't seem to make a profitable business out of what you're doing. Your various business models simply don't work. We've seen that an awful lot in we've seen that big time in the dot-com boom, when the dot-com bubble burst. We still see it today on various tech startups, etc., and other companies. But you need to have reliable revenue, and you need to have a business model that produces reliable revenue. Now, probably the one that comes to most people's mind as the primary culprit is lack of capital. It is true that there's a lot of startups out there working on very little or no money, and that obviously is going to be a problem. But when you combine this with the other things, you've got a subscription for disaster. Of course you should have adequate startup capital, but a lot of people never do because they don't realize the costs. They didn't sit down and do their homework in advance. So why do people start businesses to begin with? Well, there's several reasons. The first reason that I hear a lot of is they need a job. We're in a tough economy. Companies are laying off, still laying off, or maybe they're hiring, but not in your field. Reduction in hours, benefits, pay packages, compensation, etc. Many reasons, but they need a job. And so they've decided to start a business to create a job. Okay, we'll check that off the list. How about this? I can do it better. Pretty valid reason, so we'll check that off the list. How about this one? My own boss. Yeah, baby, freedom. No longer have to report to that jerk in the main office anymore. I'm free to do what I want. Check that off the list. In other words, what I'm getting at, there's a plethora of reasons why people want to start their own business. This one seems to be very, very common. And actually, you can tell a difference in the mentality of people based on these various reasons. This person is looking to put food on his table, to pay the mortgage, etc. The I can do it better guy or gal has that more entrepreneurial spirit. And number three, this person probably also has that entrepreneurial spirit. The one trying to replace a job, maybe not so much. So let's talk about these just a little bit. When you are starting a business, and specifically, if your reason is to do a job, you need a job, and so you can't find something, you're going to start your own business doing this, whatever it is. Let's say I'm going to make clocks. I don't know. I'm just pulling something out of the air here. It's important to understand there are 3 different roles a successful business owner has. 3 different roles that they must play and they must execute on pretty well. Number 1 is the worker role. All right? I'm great at building clocks. I put quality and craftsmanship into every clock I make. They just are wonderfully made. I did a great job. That's great. That's you in the worker role. But guess what? We need somebody to make sure that the trains run on time, that somebody's ordering the parts for you to make the clock, that other people are coming in to make clocks, that somebody's boxing them up and making sure they get shipped, somebody's doing the paperwork, somebody's generating the invoices, etc., etc. That role is called the manager role. Very important to a business that somebody makes sure the trains run on time, so to speak. Now, the thing is we need somebody out there beating the bushes, networking, trying to grow our clock-making business, shaking hands, doing whatever it takes, schmoozing clients, etc., and looking for opportunities. And that role is the entrepreneur, pardon my handwriting, but the entrepreneur role. The problem for many people is that they might be great at one but horrible at the others. And this is why, another reason so many businesses won't make it. Because if you're great at being a mechanic, if you're great at being an IT consultant, if you're great at building houses, does not mean that you know how to make everything work out on time. That you don't make sure that you just don't know things like accounting, perhaps. You don't know things about labor laws. You don't know things about taxes and insurance. You don't know about how to hire people properly and getting the right verification to make sure they're citizens, etc. Maybe you're uncomfortable in that entrepreneurial role, maybe you're uncomfortable networking. Maybe you're not comfortable addressing an audience. Maybe you're not comfortable attending mixers and socials and doing all the things, and maybe, pitching the business to somebody. Maybe you're quiet and reserved. That's going to lead to a problem as well. It takes a unique combination of these talents to truly drive and build a successful business. It just really does. So to help you think this whole thing through, probably some of you have heard of what's called a business plan. Ew, sounds hard, sounds tough. Actually, to share a story with you, one of the most successful small businesses at the time, this would have been around 98, 99. One of the most successful small businesses in Phoenix, Arizona, was a consignment store. And the lady who started that did so out of financial desperation. She had children to take care of, put through school. She was single, unemployed, etc. She actually took a marker and sketch paper and drew the business plan out. Drew it out. She didn't write it out. She didn't type it out. She didn't print it out. She drew pictures for her business plan. And from the first blush, that sounds absolutely dumb. But the reality is, it worked out just great and she had a successful business. But here's the key point. She had a plan. And I'm not going to go into tremendous detail over the business plan, but I do want to capture the essence of what should be in a proper business plan. And the benefit of having one will become clear as we go through this list. The beauty of editing. Some of my pauses and stuff won't be here. But again, maybe I'll leave them in. The first step in a business plan is the executive summary. And this is basically your resume, your background, your experience, and those who are going to be helping you if you have partners, etc. In an upcoming episode, we will talk, in an upcoming class, we'll discuss things like limited liability corporations, partnerships, subchapter S corporations, C corporations, sole proprietorships, etc. So you want to stay tuned for all of that. But the executive summary is just that. It is the pedigree of the people involved in this business. So if I'm going to start a business servicing x-ray machines and all of this come back around from the restaurant business, probably won't have a successful company. Number 2, you need to do a market analysis. In other words, you need to do your market research. Who is that customer? What products do they buy? What's your competition in the market? Not only that, is there any bad things that could happen to your market somewhere down the road? Really important to look, not only today, but maybe there's pending legislation that could put you out of business in a heartbeat somewhere down in the State House. You don't know. You don't know if maybe a competitive product's on the horizon is going to make your product obsolete. Maybe there's licensing requirements coming up you weren't aware of that could put you seriously in jeopardy. It gives you a chance to know what people are buying and what they're paying for it. Number 3, the description. All right? The description is basically telling you, and you're putting on paper, how this whole business is going to fit together, how it's all going to gel together. Everything from how we acquire customers to how we build our widgets, how we ship our widgets or sell our services, etc. We're actually telling them step by step how it's going to work. You're going to make it flow on paper right in the very beginning. That'll make the startup phase so much so much easier for you. Now let's erase these. And we're going to start on the next one. Number 4, how the company is organized. Now, this makes you think, do we need to be a sub-S corporation? Do we need to be an LLC? Do I need to be a sole proprietorship, a partnership? How are we going to actually legally organize the business? And we want to get this done right, and we want to get it done in the beginning because it'll save us a lot of grief later down the road. We're going to make sure you get things like your proper federal employee ID number, all this stuff, all the corporate articles of incorporation, all that's filed from the very get-go. Saves you a lot of grief and hassle, and tax issues as well. So how it's organized, and then who's in charge? If you've got partners, what do they do, what they're responsible for, who reports to them, etc. So the org chart is part of how it's organized. Number 5, sales and marketing. This is the fun one right here. Let me tell you about an organization called SCORE. And SCORE is the Service Corps of Retired Executives. Check your area to see if there is anybody you can meet with from SCORE. They do have a website. And they have some great spreadsheets that you can download and use for templates for doing things like sales forecasting, etc. But in the sales and marketing analysis, you are going to figure out how you're going to sell your product, what you're going to price it for, what the market is for it, and then you're going to also project your sales 1, 3, 5 years out. Now, nobody ever gets it right, okay? Nobody, first off, a business plan is not something you write once and throw away or just file away and forget about it. It is a living, breathing document that's going to keep changing and evolving. And that's what you need to do. This thing is your cookbook for success. And you can build upon it. You can make operations manuals, and you can make cookbooks, etc. But this is your Bible for your business, and treat it as such. But it is a living Bible. It means it will change and evolve. And yes, you will get things wrong. No one ever nails their sales projections right to begin with. But what this does force you to think realistically, how many customers will I get? What does it cost me to acquire a customer? What is my cost per widget? What is my margin per widget? How will that affect things like payroll, expenses, taxes, etc.? And these are all going to be in your projections. And then how profitable are we going to be 1 year out, 3 years out, 5 years out, etc.? And this is how we're going to structure the business to handle that type of growth. And it makes us question the growth. Let me give you an idea of a bad example. I did not create this. I actually found this on the interwebs, but nonetheless, it's stuck in my mind. Yeah, that's a pretty good example. Let's say I'm in a city with, I'm going to open a restaurant in a city. Now, the city's restaurants in general earn $100 million a year in sales. All the restaurants in town. So I'm sitting around, I'm doing the sales projections for my new restaurant, right? And I say, okay, boy, I have no idea. I mean, what do you think we're going to do? So what some people do, I say, well, look, what if we just took some very small figure and say, if we got a percentage of this money and use that for our sales projections? Okay, sounds reasonable. So let's say we keep it really low and we say 1%. Well, what's 1% of $100 million bucks? Is $1 million. That sounds reasonable? That sounds real reasonable. And that's just a little over, what, $80K per month in business? Sounds reasonable. And if our average dinner price is this, we get this many guests. But yeah, that sounds pretty reasonable. The problem is that very seldom happens. Yeah, you might get an initial rush in the beginning because everybody in town was trying out the new restaurant, and it was so-so, and you got all the growing pains of the new restaurant, and then the sales tank, and this is all off. You see what you did? You basically made the assumption you were going to capture 1% of the market. But you didn't figure out how. You didn't add into the equation what it costs to get that 1% of the business into your door, and how many sales that was going to take, and how much promotion and marketing and everything else that was going to have to do to get that. You see, I just went right off the top. And that is something you don't want to do in a sales projection. All right. Next, we're going to talk about the next part of your business plan should cover your service and products, and/or products, I should say, and/or products. Not only where they're at in the marketplace today, how relevant they are, but where they're going to be 1, 3, 5 years or so down the future. Any competition coming that way, etc. You need to spell it out, and you need to be realistic with yourself. You really do. You know, there's people that were, for example, in the IT business that were using the Microsoft Small Business Server space, and they built a practice around that. Well, one day Microsoft yanked the cord on that, and suddenly they've seen their practice on that collapse. You can't anticipate that widget or whatever is going to be a great item 3, 5 years down the road. You know, there's something about products and services, particularly in products, they kind of have this bell curve to them, where they kind of do that number. And a lot of people tend to get involved here, here, and here on the upside of the curve. And of course, what happens is they write it down to the bottom, which is what you don't want to do. You want to be positioned here. You want to get there first. It's called getting ahead of the curve. You want to be in here and out here. You don't want to ride your market for your product or your service down the bottom of the curve. Sure way to go out of business. Used to be companies that made buggy whips. Best damn buggy whips you've ever seen. Where are they at today? They are gone, gone, gone. Here we go. Big one. Funding requirements. In short, how much cash does my business need to grow? How much money do I need to start up with? And give you a realistic amount of capital. Nothing's worse if you base everything on rosy sales projections for the first quarter, first 6 months, and you get it wrong and you're anticipating using that cash to fund operations. You've got a problem. You need to have adequate funding to get you through that startup phase, and you need to know how much you're going to need. If you're projecting you're going to sell 1,000 widgets a month for the first 6 months, 6,000 widgets, you better make sure there's enough capital, pay vendors and so forth for the purchase of those 6,000 widgets. You need to be enough cash on hand. And so again, this is something designed to make you think. And of course, we mentioned your sales projections, but we'll go over that. Your sales projections, again, should be not unrealistic. Again, you can go to SCORE, download templates, and work through them. And you can even talk to, hopefully you'll find a mentor somewhere that'll give you a hand with producing realistic sales projections, not pie in the sky numbers. Last thing in the world, you want pie in the sky figures for sales projections. And I'm going to wrap up this first part 1 of the class with introducing you to 3 people that you must have on your side. You must trust implicitly. All right? 2 of which you need right away. The 3rd can wait. But 2 you need right away. Before you open, you need these people. 1, a CPA. Especially one that's very well versed in tax law. Now, a lot of people are going to say, I could got QuickBooks Online, I can do my own taxes. You, sir, or ma'am, have a fool for a client. All right? Truly, you just don't imagine what a Internal Revenue Service audit is like and how debilitating it can be. You just know. I'm just telling you, for the love of God Almighty, Make sure that you do it right in the beginning and you have hired yourself a CPA. Make sure all the necessary forms and legal documents are executed and given to the IRS before you open your door, before you make that first sale. Get it done. Have somebody you trust and give you great advice and keep you clear of any potential entanglements with both the state and the federal government. Keeping you clean from things like disputes over payroll, unpaid payroll taxes, etc. Make sure those taxes get done. The quarterly earnings estimate, income reports are filed, so on and so on. The next person that should be near and dear in your life is a reputable lawyer. If you're in the services business, you're going to need contracts. You're going to need an attorney to look those over and make sure that you don't get screwed. Somebody that will review contracts that you receive, etc., etc. Somebody that's going to make sure that you're legally structured in the correct way with the state. No guessing games, because believe me, the state that you live in is very unforgiving of stupidity, and they don't buy the "I didn't know" defense. You need a good lawyer on your team. Make sure you have the funds available to consult with the attorney. Go through your business plan with the attorney, making sure what you're doing is legal. That's always a good thing. Believe it or not, there's perfectly legitimate businesses that are not legal. For example, case in point, the sale of wine across state lines. Who would think, oh gosh, I got to check with a lawyer before I can sell a bottle of wine in Ohio? But guess what? Those kind of crazy laws are on the books. You can't open here in Indiana, you can't open a liquor store on Sunday, etc. It's just crazy, but that's what makes having a good lawyer on your side so important. Don't think of them as an expense. Think of them as a business partner. CPAs and lawyers. And last but not least, and I think this is also a very important person, is going to be a financial planner. You see, when you work for a large company, generally speaking, except for your own personal investments, companies that have 401k plans, etc., health insurance, life insurance, and all these other things that you get from HR in the form of benefits, you're going to have to do for yourself out on your own, including planning for retirement, the best retirement vehicles, Roth IRAs, your own qualified 401ks, etc. There's different things that are available to you self-employed, may not be available for somebody that's salaried or hourly somewhere. These people are in the wealth creation and preservation business. You don't want to be paying, there's nothing wrong with avoiding taxes. There is something wrong with evading them, but nothing wrong with avoiding. So they're going to show you tax strategies, how to grow your nest egg over time and make it bigger and bigger till one day, that glorious day, that you decide you're going to sell your business. That glorious day you're going to sell your business. Now, in the next installment, the next part 2, this is when the big difference between creating a job for yourself and a business will come into play. And that word is, I can't believe it. How the hell did I put a letter C in there? Thinking of cash. P-R-O-F. Profit. That's the difference. You see, we create businesses that will generate profits, not a salary. If you want just a salary and benefits, seriously consider finding a job working for somebody else, because you're going to be on the greatest roller coaster ride of your life. Well, that and having a kid, right? That's also, go ahead. Being self-employed is the most amazing, wonderful, scary, horrible, beautiful experience a human being can go through. We do it because we're going to create something of rising value over time that someday we can sell. If we just created a job for ourselves for 10, 20, 30 years at best, we might have saved enough to retire and call it a day. But we won't leave a legacy behind. And that is certainly a big and very decent reason to start a business. Thank you for watching part 1. I look forward to your comments down below. And let me know what you think and if there's anything you would like me to cover in part 2. Thank you.